You're listening to the Small Business Talk podcast with Cathy Smith. Episode 51.
Small Business Talk is a podcast for business owners and entrepreneurs who want a better way to run their businesses without spending years doing it the hard way. Small Business Talk is hosted by Cathy Smith, who has run the same marketing agency for more than 17 years and helped hundreds of business owners achieve their marketing goals.
Today we are talking to Becky McQueen, and Becky is from Stress Less Health Coach, need to say that slow, and Lunar Squeeze. Welcome, Becky.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Today we're going to talk about 5 tips to reduce stress in running a small business. And I think we could all use a little bit less stress in our lives, couldn't we? So where do you think we should start?
Well, I think actually everybody needs to start, whether it's running a business or a family or wherever you're running, you have to start and remember it's all about you. So just a little background to why this is so important to me is when I was a young kid, I had really bad anxiety and stress. You know, it was a massive problem. Wasn't very well at all. Found food was very helpful. Later down the line, had lots of issues with the relationships and homelessness and losing jobs, building own businesses, losing myself in the process because I was putting everything into it and nothing into myself. So I've kind of learned that if you don't look after yourself and you don't reduce your own personal stress, any project you have, whether it's personal or professional, it's really difficult to succeed. So just a little bit of background about why these type of things are important to me. What I would say that my top tips are for reducing stress when you run your own business, I try and open and close the day for myself. I have 6 children and I run 2 businesses. And my house is mental, as is everything else I try and do. So what I do is I obviously set the time aside. I have 20 minutes every morning and I actually do Kundalini yoga. And the reason I do that is, one, it's something that's not related to any other family member or any of my business, which I feel is really important. It's just related to me. And 2, it's like active meditation, as I'm someone that actually struggles a little with being very quiet in my mind. So I prefer active meditation rather than just sitting. And when I give myself that time at the beginning of the day, my day is then successful because after I've done that, I'm able to sit there, think about my day, be grateful for everything that I have, and then just plan that one day, which is actually as good as I can do, which will lead on to one of my other points in a minute. And then I find when you work for yourself, you're very consumed by everything. You think about it all the time because it's your passion, isn't it? It's everything you love and you want to serve people. You want it to be the best and you can't stop thinking about it. And some people then don't sleep, which makes stress levels worse as well. Because obviously I work with lots of business people as well. And I'm listening to them and they can't shut down at the end of the day. So I close my day.
Yes, I think the airlines do it particularly well, don't they? They always tell you to put the oxygen mask on yourself first because then that way you can help others. And wow, with 6 kids, you must be exceptionally organised.
Well, that comes to that'll be a next point where I talk about just be you. Anyone that assumes that I am organised, I think it definitely is organised chaos. But for me, it does work.
Perfect, because I think some people try to over-organise it, and like you say, you just need to be you. And if organisation's not your strong point, then maybe you need to delegate some of that, or enlist the children as they get older to do a few jobs as well.
Sure, actually, I have absolutely done that, and I have a chore list, and they're all really great, and that's really helpful. But what you said there is so true. The airlines are totally right. You have to look after yourself first, otherwise you burn out. But also, my next really important point is don't try and be anybody else. I caused myself loads of stress trying to be organised, I was listening to podcasts, and I was like, how can I be better? How can I be better? And they were like, right, have this program, do this. And I was like, I can't. I tried and it was stressing me out. And when I got to realization was like, do you know what, Bex? You do have a lot of children. You have 2 businesses. You're winning. You are winning because you are getting stuff done. So just do it in the way that works for you, which for me is I can only plan really 24 hours ahead. And I go with that.
And that's fine. And I think that's the problem is people get all caught up in different books in different ways. And, oh, you only need to work 4 hours, and, oh, you don't need to sleep, and you need to do this or you don't need to do that. And it doesn't work for everybody. Getting up at 5:30 a.m. is not everybody's cup of tea. Going to bed at 2 a.m. is not everybody's cup of tea. And it's a very short life if you try to fit into somebody else's mould. So like you say, sometimes it's worth a try, and then you go, no, that's not for me. So yep, try something else, and just definitely be you. Okay, definitely. So point number 2, what do you think we should be doing now?
Well, I would say that was actually point number 2. That was, that was the one that we were going with. There is very much be you, but I will elaborate on it for you. Is not just with regards to organisation, but just remembering who you are. That's a real big key point that I hit home to with everyone with the stress businesses. Listen, let's stop trying to be anybody else. Remember who you are and remember why you started the business, because usually we start businesses for ourselves because it's something we're passionate about and we feel really strongly about. And I feel like when you give yourself time every day, as I said, AM and PM, then you can remember why you're doing it. And then that makes you feel good inside. That kind of stimulates that heart energy, I feel. And then you're able to look at things differently and to make sure that you're working all the time in line with who you are, and then your tribe will find you, and that makes things better. Yeah, definitely. I think that's very true. And sometimes you just actually have to be out there so that your tribe can find you. If you're hiding away in your bedroom or the shadows, then nobody's going to find you. So remember, you do actually need to put yourself out there as well. You do. And also, if you're trying to be somebody else, you're going to fail at that. So, because you can't do that for long, can you? So, as you said, I've got 6 children. You said, I imagine you're very organised, and anyone that was here, that knew me would be wetting themselves at that stage. But yeah, I do get stuff done. So, I am not, what's the word? I'm a bit dysfunctional, but that is the way that I work. It's more stressful for me to be regimented. I can't do it. But the point 3 as well is along the same lines. I think about stuff that stresses you out in life and in business, and it's issues that come up that you kind of thought that was going to be all right and it didn't work, or finances, personal or business wise, big issue, all these type of things, and energy levels. And then one of my top tips for myself in my business, I have to sit down with myself and say, how can I see this differently? Or how can I do this differently? And I find that that's really good for me. With my juice business, there's all types of different obstacles in there. And I have to really think about how I can make it better for the client, but for myself as well. I'm not selling my soul and all of my hours and my whole life for other people to have a good life and then me suffering. So that's self-care as well. But that question I find is really key. How can I see it differently? And whenever I ask myself that, I get hit with a wonderful idea that then I can implement, and actually it's better. It's better and it's progress. So I think asking yourself questions is also very advantageous.
Yes, definitely. And sometimes we forget to stop that. So just by stopping and asking, it's that pattern interrupter. And sometimes that's all you need to free up your mind to be able 100%. To then go, yes. And we had Amy Van Mill on a couple of episodes ago, and she was doing negative self-talk, and she was saying exactly that my current situation is how I've thought in the past. How can I change that thinking to change the result for the future? And I think that's very, very relevant to lots of women, and certainly lots of business women.
Massively. And it's exciting, isn't it? When you think, how can I see this differently? And then you're like, oh, like this. And then it's exciting and you feel motivated again, don't you?
Yes, you definitely do.
The next very important point is nutrition and hydration. This is my area from experiences. I have non-celiac gluten sensitivity. Have you heard of that?
Well, I certainly know what celiac is and gluten sensitivity. I didn't know there was a non-celiac gluten sensitivity, so I'm assuming that means you were not celiac but still gluten sensitive.
Well, yes, but the interesting thing is I don't suffer with my gut. I suffer with my head, because wheat and gluten is very inflammatory for the gut, and some people it will stay in the gut. My gut's totally fine, but my head can go totally mad and crazy, and that actually is a thing. And I think I suffered that as a child, and it's only now there's some awareness around it, but again, not very much. Not a lot of people have heard of it. They're very familiar with celiacs, but not non-celiacs. For me, what I eat has been very important, and I've made that kind of like my life's work, not just for business but for family as well. And what we do or don't eat gives us our energy, gives us our mental power, gives us our focus, our clarity, our physical appearance, our physical health. So it's so important. But what I see in everybody is I'm work, like beast mode, grind, all this, like you're saying, I don't need sleep, I don't need food. Well, that's just not true. So food is definitely essential, and good nutrition is massively important, which is my foundation of everything. If I don't eat well, I cannot run my business and I cannot run my home. So that's a big focus as well, is making sure that you eat right.
Yes, definitely. And I think a lot of people don't realise that some of the foods you're eating is actually making you sick. I've just recently been told I can't eat avocados, and I absolutely love avocados. And people say they're so good for you, good oils and all of that. But if it's making me personally sick, then it's no point eating them. So same with the work-life balance, the whole thing we're talking about is you've got to modify it for yourself. So if you can't eat wheat and you can't eat gluten, it's not the end of the world. There are other alternatives, but you need to know that, and you need to be aware of that.
Sure, very much so. And it's a really good point, actually, what you said there, is that everybody's different. As you say, avocados, most people think you can eat an avocado, but my partner can't either. Not good for him. Me, I love avocados. I wear one around my neck. I love them so much. I have an avocado necklace, and I believe it keeps my depression away. I love those things. I have to have them every day. But everybody is different. And that's really important with food, is people always think, if I eat like this person, I'll be all right. But as you say, that's not the case. And being in touch with yourself is very important, being able to read how you feel and what you've eaten. I think even if people do their own food diary and then thought, and kind of monitor how they felt energy-wise, mood-wise, because if you have too much sugar, for example, your anxiety is higher. So if you wanted to perform, and caffeine as well, obviously, and you had to do something like this, for example, but you're sugar laden and everything like that, you could get an anxiety attack if you're prone to those things. If you eat too many of these foods that stimulate too quickly and drop, you've got no energy left to invest in business. I always try and have protein at breakfast. That's a mood balancer for me as well. It's very important. And food is a huge subject, obviously, but is the number one thing I think is very important, combined with hydration as well.
Yes, I think hydration is something people often overlook. There's some amazing statistics in America of how many people are actually dehydrated all the time, because people don't realise how much water you actually need to replace in your body each day, and particularly in winter when it's cold and you don't really feel like it. You're still sweating, and sometimes more so when you're in artificial heat. And people just don't realise how much water we do need to replace. And, of course, that's not caffeine water, that is actual water, not just drinking cups and cups of coffee.
I always say to people, all your blood and everything like that, the blood cells, they don't knock about in coffee or tea, it's water. So you do need to put the water in there. And interestingly, a lot of drinks, as you say, like coffee and tea and different drinks anyway, they're kind of acts as your body needs more to use its internal water supply to process that drink. You think you're hydrating, but on some level you're dehydrating. And when you're dehydrated, your cells are stressed, and because you're trillions of cells, you are stressed.
Yes.
So in effect, there's a great book, actually, if anyone's interested in it, called Your Body's Many Cries for Water, by a doctor whose name I cannot say. It's a very long name and I have no idea how to say it. But he basically cured upper indigestion with just water, and then it went into how, as you say, chronic dehydration is linked to aches and pains and moods and poor digestion, so many things.
We'll track that one down and put it in the show notes for anybody who's interested in having a read of that.
I'm
Sounds
not
good.
going to say the name. Steady price of water. It's very, very good.
Excellent. Okay, so we need to be looking at what we're eating, our sleeping, and looking at some me time. Okay, so where should we be going from here?
Well, all those things, as you say, really combined. I think they all sound very similar with different elements, but I did want to touch on, if you do run a small business and you have a family or even friends or social life, that yes, it's important to move forward in business. I feel like if we can, even I can manage to do this, I structure set times of a day or a week where it's dedicated to business, and then everybody knows that's kind of that time. And for me, it's very limited time, actually, because my youngest child, is 7 months old. So there's not much scope here, guys. It's pretty crazy. But what I found, for me personally, and this is me, my greatest passion is my family. I love and live for them completely. And when I was trying to earn all the money for my family, I was neglecting my family. I was a single parent for a long time, and I wasn't there for them. And so for me, I think that I would say to everybody that was running their own business, which is a really wonderful, admirable, and difficult thing to do, is to remember what gives you joy outside of your business as well, and make sure you spend time with that or them. So that's coming under the same thing, I think, isn't it, of the self-care? But it is just remembering that we're not just workhorses. I think that's really important. Yes, we need money. Yes, we need all these, we need these things. I mean, sometimes I think, is it more exciting to think, how can I need less? How do I need less money but have more joy? That's a subject I'm going to go into next year anyway. But definitely making time for the things that lift you up, which isn't relatable to business, because energetically, I feel those things give you more energy and inspiration, because again, you're connected to the heart. And I think that's really important. I do have one other tip in case that's like just too much, of the same life balance, which I essentially think it's all about.
No, I think us women definitely have blurry lines between our work and our life balance, and sometimes it does tip over the wrong way. And you do see women who are saying they're doing it for the family, but they're away from their family so often, or when they're with their family, they're not present. So you really do need to define that line and go, okay, this is work time. So it's as much as possible 100% work time. This is family time. Turn that phone off, put the Facebook down, turn the emails off, and be present. And even if you have a shorter amount of time with your family, be present in that time.
100%. Half-hour present time is better than 3 hours where you're scrolling and answering emails, isn't it? And by doing that as well, actually, I didn't write it down, but I should have done. I know something that I've suffered as a mother working is guilt. Huge. So by saying, right, on this, I mean, I've got so many kids as well, I can't always take them out at the same time. So I do structure them. I'm like, this weekend, I'm going to go out. I know you enjoy doing this. We're going to go laser quest, or the other, we're going to go to a farm. And I've got 3 hours and I don't look at my phone, and I have the most unadulterated bliss ever, just present with the things I love the most in the whole world, which then gives me more energy and less guilt, because I think I've given you that. They've loved that. They've had a great time. So have I. Now I'm like, Mummy has to just do these emails now. They're like, sure, fine. Because their needs are met. So are mine. And then I can be of value to everybody around me and myself, which is winning, isn't it?
Absolutely. And that is a really true life balance. I know years ago, I've been fortunate enough that my children have never had to go to daycare. Actually, my son's been one day, and that was when my daughter was born. But I've been fortunate enough to be able to work around so they didn't. And one year they come home at Christmas time, and big holidays in Australia at Christmas time, and they said, "You're working all the time, Mum." And I said, okay, how about I only work 3 days a week and you go to daycare 2 days a week? And then I'll work 3 days a week and you go to daycare 3 days a week, and then 2 days a week we'll play. And they went, oh no, Mum, how can we help you? And then it was a whole different story. So, yeah.
Brilliant. They saw it differently.
They did. So, yes. And then they came home and asked for money to go to things. And I said, well, Mummy doesn't work. We don't have the money for that. So
exactly. That's it, isn't it? And that's good telling them that as well, isn't it? Because it makes it all relative.
And I think sometimes it's communication, and you do need to explain that to your children. It's not all about no. It's yes, we can do that at some point, or no, that really is stretching our budget. And like you say, don't feel guilty about it. I mean, the children today get a lot more than we did, and try not to harp on that. But sometimes you just do have to draw the line and say, no, that overseas holiday is not within the family budget. So maybe we'll all go in a couple of years instead. So
yeah, that's so true. I know that too much with 6 of them. They're like, can we go to Disneyland? I was like, should we sell a house? Like,
but my friends are going, Mum.
I know. I get that all the time. One of my children especially, I think she makes it her rule to only have very wealthy friends. Tell me like where they're off to on their yacht and private jet next week.
Yeah. Oh, well, she'll do well when she starts dating. She'll.
I think you're right. I think she will.
She'll attract the right partner. So you're probably on a good track there.
She will. She will.
Okay, excellent. All right. So you said you had one more tip you'd like to tell us.
Yeah, just one more. They kind of come together, and that's actually kind of how we met as well, I think. I have found amazingly helpful to be part of a group of like-minded people. So people that are working for themselves, understand the struggles, and realising that I'm not alone. And that has been really powerful to me, that you can see that really anybody of any status, whether they're just beginning or whether they've been in it for years, have all suffered and still suffer imposter syndrome, I'm not good enough things and everything like that. And actually then when you're with a group of people like that, you think, oh, you tell that person, you're like, that's not true. And then you can kind of say it back to yourself, and you can learn more things, and you can connect with more people that can help you. They've maybe been where you are now and they've moved on from there. And I think that is really, really important. Well, some people maybe have a team of people that work for them, but me, myself, it's kind of just me, you know, it's mainly just me, a couple of little helpers, but not, you know, not really. So to have people that understand what my journey is and what I'm doing. I don't have friends like this either. I found friends in groups like this and found it massively helpful, and sharing and growing together with people on the same journey. I think that's really, really important. It's definitely helped me personally.
Yes, definitely. And sometimes those people like us are on the other side of the world, and sometimes they're just around the corner. The group that you're referring to was a visibility challenge that we did quite a few weeks ago now. So, yes, that was definitely how we met. And I think that's another important thing you were saying about the different parts of your journey. People quite often will compare themselves to somebody else's journey, but what they don't realise is they're at chapter 20 and you may be only at chapter 2. So, and you don't know what happened in those other 18 chapters. So, yeah. You don't,
and you don't know what they're, you know, they might be just somebody on their own. They, you know, they might not have the same things that you have. You don't know, do you? So that is, again, it all drills down to just be you, and don't try to be anyone else, and look after yourself first, and everything else gets better.
Yes, definitely. And go easy on yourself, because we're our own harshest critics. And
absolutely.
You think that
but I think as well, though it's not a point, I think every day be grateful for showing up, because it's hard, you know, it's well, I think somebody said to me the other day, there's a certain type of person that decides to run a business for themselves. And if you are that type of person, for that alone, I think it's a pat on the back, and you're pretty awesome, and you got this, you know.
Yes, absolutely. And there's a meme that's been going around recently. It says, who would work for a boss for half the amount of pay, demand extra hours and no holidays? And then you sort of look at yourself and go, oh, it's me, because I'm the boss. And, a lot of us are not earning as much as we'd like. And that's okay, because that's all part of the journey. And sometimes you just need to realise that you do need to increase your prices, or you do need to let go of some of those clients that are not part of your wheelhouse anymore. So it's definitely an evolving journey.
It is.
Wonderful. So is there anything else that you would like to tell the listeners, Becky?
No, just be real, be you. If you want to, obviously I'm on social media. You can find me on Facebook on Stress Less Health Coach and Lunar Squeeze. The Lunar Squeeze I love. It's all to do with the moon and juicing with the moon and, you know, manifesting. It's a real spiritual business, which I absolutely adore. I am opening a free group at the end of this month on Stress Less, and it's called Do Less, Be More, because I believe that human beings need to be more, and I'll be going live in there. So if anyone, you know, wants to kind of join my crew, go onto the Facebook page and keep following. And the same with Lunar Squeeze come January. It's going to be a 12 months, obviously lunar calendar plan of like trying to just, it's all about like, you know how you speak to people and they're like, you follow me and I'm going to make you have loads of money and you're going to like live on a yacht or, you know, work on Hawaii Beach. I love all that. That's great. But mine is kind of like, I just want everyone to be more human and just to know that they don't have to do, but just to be. So if that's your vibe and you're into that, then totally follow me. I'm doing this 40-day Kundalini challenge at the moment. Every day I nip in and do video into the thought of the day of how we can help ourselves. And yeah, I'd love to meet more people. I love people. So if they want to follow me, that's great.
Perfect. So we'll drop all of that in the show notes. And now we're down to our final 5. So we've got 5 questions to ask you. Are you game, Becky?
Oh my goodness, I feel a bit nervous. Okay.
Everybody says that. I'm not quite sure why. I don't know what you're thinking I'm going to ask, but anyway. All right. These are easy, I promise. What is the best advice given to you by a mentor?
I think actually, I'm not sure it was advice, but it was just a statement that said to me, not everybody, what I mentioned in the talk is not everybody. It takes a certain type of person to go out and work for themselves. And actually, although that wasn't advice, it helps me remember every day that actually I'm really capable of doing things. So all I need to do is just keep going and just keep thinking. So maybe it's that. Maybe it was that really did hit home. I found that really useful.
Excellent. So that is definitely advice. Okay, what is the biggest help you've had since you started your business?
The biggest help I've had is definitely with connecting with other like-minded business women. So it's been community at business network meetings and obviously online, as you said, the Visibility Challenge. I'm actually a member of that FEA. And I would say that is 100% my biggest help. There is paid resources and free resources and connecting with people that have done it already, kind of have the blueprint, but I can make it my own.
Wonderful. Okay, what is the one thing that you have to do every day, your non-negotiable?
My non-negotiable is I have to give myself time at the beginning of the day to set it up. If I don't do that, my day is rubbish. It just goes, I find I'm on catch up continuously. So I have to start the day with me. And listen, it's 20 minutes. That's all it is. And if no one can give themselves 20 minutes, it's bad times.
Yes, so they better get off their Facebook and social media.
A lot of people scroll for like half hour before they get out of bed. Like, just don't do that. I have mine on airplane mode. I don't even look at it until I'm downstairs. And then, you know, I do the yoga. Just get the yoga done and I'm like, I'm winning. I'm happy.
Excellent. Okay, what is your favourite business book and why?
Well, to be honest, I think more than business books per se, I've read mindset books. Mm-hmm. And my favourite 100%, million percent favourite book, I've even given it to my children, is a really old one. It's called The Game of Life and How to Play It. Have you heard of it?
No, I haven't.
Right. It's by a lady called Florence Scovel Shinn. I think I've pronounced that right. It's by my bed, just back there. And in it, it says that words create things, that thoughts create things. And it was written literally 1914 or something like that. And it changed my life, that book, and it continues to change. I quote from it all the time. It changed my daughter's life. She had some struggles and I was struggling to get through. I went, can you just read this? And she read it, applies it to everything. Absolutely highly recommend it. It's very clever, I think. There's lots of books, you know, Gabriella Bernstein, I don't know if I say her name right, The Universe Has Your Back. I really like that book. And it actually, I think it's a modern day version of the same book. I'm pretty sure we've all read that book because there's lots of quotes in it the same. But The Game of Life and How to Play It's phenomenal.
Wonderful. Okay, and your very last question is, what do you wish you had known when you started your business?
I wish I knew how little I knew before I started. I was going to say I might have thought it out again, but I wouldn't have done. I love it. I think I had no idea how much I had to learn. So I had to really embrace that I was an absolute beginner and go from there.
One of our guests said that she wouldn't have started her business if she had known how it was going to play out. But of course,
well, you know, some days you think, what? Why am I doing this? But then for me, the reason always is because, just like you said, I get to be with my kids. I take my kids to school and back, and I have done forever, and I will do forever.
Yes.
When I say forever, I'm probably a long time, because I have so many. I'm going to be doing it for years.
Yes, well, that's what happens when they span out a bit, don't they? So
yeah.
I'm running to the end of my school days, so I'm quite looking forward to that, but also very scared.
That's a moment.
It means they're growing up very fast. So
oh yeah. Although I am looking forward to not doing the school run. It's not a pleasure point for me.
No.
But yes, as I say that, but I wouldn't let anybody else do it. It's all me.
Excellent. So everybody can find you on the socials, which we will drop in the show notes. So thank you very much for mentioning those. Would you like one final thing to say to everybody?
I would just say, be confident in who you are. It doesn't matter if you're not like anybody else. Being you is your superpower. I know lots of people say that, but it's absolutely true. I used to be really hard on myself. Actually, there's another book, I don't know if you want to put it in the notes, Cathy, is The Untethered Soul. Wonderful book about that bully in your brain. And I frequently told myself I should be more this, should be more that, until I realized that actually I am me, and I'm just gonna own that. And when you own who you are, I believe everything good that's meant for you comes to you. So just be you, do less, be more.
Excellent. I really like that. Wonderful. Cool. Well, thank you very much for your time, Becky, and look forward to our listeners' feedback. So thank you very much.
Lovely. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.
Don't forget to subscribe to Small Business Talk podcast and head on over to smallbusinesstalk.com.au/downloads for all the show notes and links to this episode. Remember, to be great, you must start. Pick one tip from today's episode, take action and implement it. Let's meet again next week at the same time and place. Until then, take action. And SBT community, enjoy your journey.